Okay, been asked to have a look at the condition of the roof and the gutters at number 41 Eildon Rd in St Kilda. This is a high triple-storey residential development which is probably around 80 years of age, I would say, maybe a little bit older, and it does retain the original terracotta tiles. Now, the guttering has been replaced at some point, and it actually seems to be in pretty good condition, so that's going to be excluded from our scope. But all of the roof tiles themselves are well and truly past their use-by date. These have now gotten to the stage where they've become very brittle. I'm sure that you've had many instances of water ingress occurring, and all of the roof associated flashings, of which there's a lot, all of the chimney flashings are going, the box gutters up on the roof are all beginning to fail, the penetrations that come through the pipes and stuff like that, the flashings are in a woeful condition. All of that has to be replaced completely, and this is going to be a monumental task because of the very, very poor access and just the location that we're at. Now, tiles come out in big trucks sitting on big pallets, so generally speaking we would need a pretty large area to, one, deliver the new tiles, and then two, get the old tiles off. We're going to need obviously bins and stuff like that to enable the old debris to be taken away, and there is quite simply no room on this property anywhere to do that. To compound issues, it is a very busy area, Grey Street and Eildon Rd on the corner there. Obviously there's a lot of pedestrian, a lot of vehicular traffic. Obviously the council take a very keen interest on how we're going to do this to make sure that there's as minimal disruption as possible. So look, there are some things that I'm going to be able to quote for and some things that I will not until we do extensive research. Naturally enough, we're reluctant to do that until we at least have an indication that we may have won the work. Otherwise, all we'd be doing is communicating with councils day in and day out. So what I'll do is put together, well, this video will be the scope of work that I'm going to propose, give you an idea of what's involved, and then obviously once you've given us the nod on that, we can go into bat and investigate all of the other bits and pieces that might be required. So initially, I do know that the council is going to demand a street occupation permit. We're going to be usurping the front 3 car parks on Eildon Rd, so they're coming back from Grey Street there. Also, the sidewalk will be commandeered, so all of that entire area is going to be cordoned off for our use during the scope of works that takes place. That means that we will need a street occupation permit from the council, and they'll be charging us on an hourly rate, actually, to use their property. They'll also want an asset protection permit and a bond that's payable by the OC, Owners Corporation, to secure their assets. So what that means, if there's damage done to the curbs or the sidewalks, they'll want to have a bit of money set aside there just in case an issue occurs, and obviously we have to pay for the permit. The other overwhelming problem we have from a strategical point of view and safety point of view is the fact that right where our staging area has to be on Eildon Rd, there are power lines, both high and low voltage, directly overhead. We need to erect scaffolding, we've got to have scissor lifts in that area, we've got to have all sorts of machinery, and the risk of somebody becoming electrocuted is very, very high. So as a bare minimum, we would have to have electrical spotters on site, so people dedicated to just watching where everything goes to make sure that no contact with the wiring occurs. On the extreme side, they may even wish to have a power shutdown. This is another unknown, and we won't know until we organise site meetings with power infrastructure companies and possibly a representative from Energy Safe Victoria. As I said, very, very convoluted and difficult, but unfortunately that roof has had its day and it must be attended to. Now, there's a front fence which unfortunately is restricting access to the property. We're going to have to remove that fence and put it back. That's probably one of the easier obstacles that we can overcome, so that will be included in our quote. And there's also some shrubbery and small plants that will either have to be trimmed back or removed entirely. Again, this is not negotiable. We must be able to have an access tower with a stairway in it to enable safe access up to the building, and we also need to have a scissor lift on site as well as a tile elevator. All of this machinery is critical to ensure that the job can be done in a professional manner and in a safe manner. So you're starting to get an idea of the hurdles that we have to jump over. So the scope of works I'm going to be introducing is as follows. First of all, as I said, we need to organise a permit to work close to the electrical wires and then perform works as directed by the infrastructure company. We need to approach council and organise for the street to be cordoned off in that section, apply for an asset protection permit and a street occupation permit, and we'll probably have to have traffic management, so stop and go signs are very, very likely, and also signage up to let people know, warn them that we are working in that area. That component of the job is excluded from my pricing because at this stage we just don't know how much it is. Every council is different, every electrical infrastructure company is different, so it varies from job to job. So a section of the fencing will be removed, some of the shrubs will be trimmed back. Obviously, we'll be as careful as we can. We understand that they may be very dear to your heart, so we won't be stripping them out willy-nilly. We'll just be as careful as we can and only remove what has to be removed in order to get this job done. Once we've cleared the air, though, and cleared the space, we can erect a scaffold tower with a stairway in it, like you're seeing here. A scissor lift will also be on site to enable us to elevate scaffolding up and down quickly and safely, as well as roof flashings and whatnot. Perimeter railing is obviously also required around the edge of the building to prevent any falls from occurring while the work is taking place. It's a very dangerous job, as you can imagine. Now, all the old roof tiles are going to come off, be stripped away. We'll put those into a bin and obviously have those removed from site from time to time so that we can keep the areas free from debris as possible. There's timber roof battens on this structure that enable the tiles to sit nicely on the roof. They will all have to be stripped off and new battens will need to be installed. I'm going to install a sisolation membrane like you're seeing here. So this is a heavy-duty plastic and foil membrane which is stretched across the roof underneath the new battens, and this controls condensation and adds to the insulating ability of the building. New tiles are going to go on. This is going to be a terracotta tile. We'll give you a couple of options on the colour and range, but I dare say it'll be something similar to what you've got on there, so it's not too out of keeping with the style. Valley irons all have to be replaced in new colorbons. The chimneys up there will need to be fully reflashed, both sides and based. All of those penetrations will need to have their old lead stripped away and removed. New deck-tight flashing kits will have to be installed. There's brick parapets up there that are failing now. All of the mortar is beginning to decay and fall apart. They'll all have to be professionally capped in colorbons. Just a note, your standard tiling companies will not do any of the plumbing flashing. So in other words, chimney flashings, penetrations, box gutters, parapets, all of that sort of thing is always excluded from their scope. Us being both roofing and plumbing, we can look after the entire scope for you. As I mentioned, the external guttering still appears to be in good condition, so that will be excluded from the scope, and that is pretty much it. So look, my name's Steve. My contact details will be included in the body of the quote. If there's any questions or queries regarding the scope, which I'm sure there may be, look, feel free to give me a call. I don't even mind coming down and having a chat to you and just sort of going through what will and will not need to be removed and cut back. Obviously, when you get closer to making a decision, it'd probably be a prudent idea to organise a site meeting anyway to talk about the disruption that this might cause to the tenants. As I said, feel free to give me a call. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.